Oh, hi, everybody. Father Alex here. Welcome to another episode of the Godcast. I am the vicar of St Matthew's Church in Burnley, host of the Godcast, and also the author of Our Daily Bread from Argos to the Altar, a Priest Story. I am delighted to introduce you to my guest on the Godcast today, who is Simon Garner. Simon is a Blackburn Rovers legend, and he is their record-leading goal scorer. As well as playing for Blackburn Rovers, he played for West Bromwich Albion, Wycombe Wanderers, and Torquay United. So he's got a new book out called One Last Shot. And so do enjoy this interview now with Simon Garner. Well, I'm delighted to say that joining me on the Godcast is Blackburn Rovers legend Simon Garner. Simon, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
I'm all right, thanks, Simon. Yeah, I'm not sure how my Burnley friends are going to feel about me interviewing a Blackburn Rovers legend, but
I bet they're not actually. You better keep your head down for a little while.
I know. I think you're right, Simon. I've been following you with interest on Twitter and stuff. You've had a busy weekend, haven't you? You've been up in Blackburn promoting your book. Has that been a good time?
Yeah, it's been a great time. I mean, went up there on the Saturday, did some book signings at the football ground in the club store. Then I did some in Waterstones. Had a few too many drinks on the Saturday night, as you do. Then I went to game on the game on the Sunday, which was a bit of a letdown, really.
Yeah. Well, let's perhaps touch on that. Like you're a Blackburn man, I'm a Burnley man. How do you think it's going to go in the next few weeks? It's going to be twitchy bum time for both
I
sets of
think,
supporters, isn't it?
yeah, it is definitely is. I don't like saying it, as you know, but Burnley had a great win at the weekend, give them a chance of staying up. But I think from the fans' point of view, obviously Burnley want to be in the Premiership, but definitely from Blackburn's fans' point of view, they'd like to be playing Burnley again next year.
What's the kind of feeling at Ewood? What's been the main downfall this year? Do you think changing the manager was the right thing? Or?
I think it. I think that the previous manager wanted to go. I think he wanted to leave. Johnny Eustace had come in. He has said he's not had a lot of time with the players. They've been playing 2, 3 games a week. So he's not had a lot of time to get across what he wants to do with them. And you look at the squad as well, they're a really young team. I don't see them that often because I live down south now. But they are struggling at the minute. They're playing without any confidence. And as soon as they lose a goal, you can see the heads go down. So it is a bit worrying, especially with the 2 games they've got. They've got Coventry and I think it's Leeds the next 2 games. So I'm a bit worried as well after Coventry got knocked out of the FA Cup at the weekend that they're going to come back and say, right,
Yeah,
we've got to put this right. But I think a point will be enough to keep them up.
yeah. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think they
I think
will.
we'll be playing each other next year. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So, Simon, you won't recognise his face, but our paths have crossed. Many years ago. I used to be a football ref,
Right.
and I was starting out in my career. I was the fourth official at Turf Moor, and you were playing for West Brom reserves.
Oh, really?
Keith Birkinshaw was your manager.
Oh, yeah.
And
Keep
I was quite starstruck, not because of you, Simon, but because of Keith Birkinshaw. I was a Spurs fan growing up, and yeah, I remember you. So you clearly you won't remember me, but I do remember you. You had a swagger about you. You were giving out some pelters to the officials, and I remember thinking, never loses it, this guy.
No, it's funny because when I first went to West Brom, Ossie Ardiles signed me. He was a manager then. And he left there and went to Tottenham, and Keith took over. Keith was his assistant. Keith took over and for some reason didn't fancy me. So I got stuck in the reserves all of a sudden. I was playing in regular reserve team football. And yeah, but it's a bit different when you're playing in front of a big crowd. I mean, West Brom are well supported.
Yeah,
First team, very well supported. Um, and when you're playing in the first team, you can say things to the officials that the crowd don't hear and people on the sidelines don't hear. But when it's a reserve game,
I heard it.
it seems to go all the way around the ground. But it's changed a lot. I mean, from my days when I played at Blackburn early on, I mean, in the 80s, you could have a laugh with a referee. I've played in many a first team game where, okay, you shouldn't do it. I've had a few words with the referee, and they've come back with the same few words back to me. So it was banter between us. I
Yeah.
mean, if you went too far, fair enough. You get booked or you get sent off. But I used to enjoy having a bit of a banter with a referee.
Yeah, one of the first games I did was Leighton James was playing, who I'm sure you came up against once or twice. Who
Yeah.
sadly died a few days ago, and
Oh
he
dear,
was
I didn't
giving me
know that.
some serious pelters, but it was all in good spirits. It seems to have lost that now, doesn't it?
It has. It has lost it altogether. I mean, okay, nowadays referees professionals, but you'd think they'd understand the game more with being professionals.
Yeah.
They'd understand that it's, especially in the Premier League, it's a tough, tough league, and there's a lot of money in the Premiership, and you clubs and players and managers get frustrated and they let it come out. And I wish, in a way, the referees could understand that a bit more. I
Yeah.
understand their side of it, I fully do, but I think it's a lot different nowadays when they're professionals, that they should understand what goes on in the games a bit better.
Yeah. Simon, we'll get to the book in a few minutes. So I'm always interested. I've had loads of footballers on the Godcast, and I'm always interested about the early origins of a young professional footballer. What was it that got you to Blackburn? Because people can tell by your accent you were from
No, I wasn't. No,
Lincolnshire, is that?
I was born in Lincolnshire, a
Yeah.
town called Boston. Um, at the time, Boston United was doing well in non-league football. There was in the league just below the Football League. And the manager was Jim Smith, who left Boston and went up to be managed Blackburn Rovers. I got on really well with the secretary at Boston United. I used to play in his pub team on a Sunday morning. And Jim Smith had said, if you get any kids coming through or you know of any young lads, send them up for a trial. So I've been to trials at a lot of clubs in my day. I went to Ipswich, Norwich, Notts Forest, Notts County, teams like this. Then I went to Hull City, Scunthorpe. Then I went up to Blackburn. And I went to Scunthorpe and came back. They offered me an apprenticeship. I said, I'll let you know. Then I went to Blackburn. Jim Smith, because I was from Boston, gave me a chance. He said, look, we're not really sure, but because you're from Boston, I'm going to offer you an apprenticeship. And then it came down to the fact that Scunthorpe offered me £9 a week and Blackburn offered me £18 a week. Oh, the money was flowing in them days.
And who were the again, like I say, with some of the guys, with a few Burnley lads, a couple of Blackburn lads. There's normally one or two people that stand out who are pivotal to making you the footballer you become as a young lad. Simon, who were those people for you at Blackburn?
Well, Blackburn start with Derek Fazackley had been there a long time. Derek Fazackley and Tony Parks had been there a long time. They gave great advice to the young ones. They was brilliant. They was the players who you looked at and thought they're going to go into management one day or be coaches or something like that, which Derek did, and Tony was caretaker manager for a long time at Blackburn more than once. And then playing wise, or the first one really was John Radford, the ex-Arsenal man. We signed him at Blackburn, and he took me under his wing in a way. He was a how do you describe him? A dour Yorkshireman, a Yorkshireman who had that sort of dry wit about him. And he took me under his wing actually, and he just looked after me. So he made me mature. I mean, he was coming towards the end of his career, but he used to help me in training and stuff like that and tell me what I needed to do or try and improve on. So he was brilliant for me.
And what was it, Simon? Were you quite a natural finisher, for example? Was that side of the game quite natural for you?
But,
But was it more about fitness or technique? What
oh,
was it?
don't say fitness.
Right. Well, no, I'll take that back. I've seen you play.
Yeah. Um, I was a natural goal scorer. The thing was, I went to Blackburn as a midfield player to start with. And for some reason, the reserve team manager, John Pickering, put me up front as a striker. And it all started from then. And then I was scoring goals regularly. Like you say, it was a Central League, so it was all Northwest teams basically. And you was playing against First Division clubs like your Liverpools, your Man Uniteds, teams like that. Unfortunately, I was scoring goals against them teams, and it is, I do say, to be a goal scorer, it comes naturally. You can't, it's very hard to learn how to score goals. It's just an instinct you have. You get in the right place at the right time. You know where to be. Your team around you, you've got to know your team. If you've got a right winger playing who you know is going to cross it to the far post, as an example, you go to the far post. If he's going to cross it straight away or whether he's going to try and beat the defender, then cross it. So you get to know your teammates and you know which positions to be in. And then you've just got to, I don't know, be cool in front of goal. Don't rush things. It's very hard to describe sometimes.
Simon, I was looking at a couple of YouTube clips earlier, preparing for this, and would it be offensive to you if I said you remind me of Andy Payton, and Andy Payton reminds me of you?
No, that's not offensive at all. No.
Is that a fair comparison? Would you say? Because he had a predatory instinct like you did, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he did. I mean, I think he was a bit bigger than me. I'm not sure size wise, but we was the same sort of players in a way. You want to think about it? Yes, definitely.
And did you have to bide your time at Rovers to get the really good run in the first team? Were there
Yeah, I
times
did.
you're impatient or?
No, I wasn't impatient. I had to bide my time. Jim Smith obviously was a manager. He was going to pick me. I was just signed as a professional at 18. And in them days, there was two different forms. There was a Football League form you signed, and then there was an FA form you signed. I only signed the FA form. And Jim was going to take me to the last away game of the season was Southampton away for the first team. He was going to involve me in that. And I said, well, I'm sorry. Well, obviously you call him gaffer or boss. I'm not allowed to go because I haven't signed the right forms. And the reason I hadn't signed the right forms was the club had to pay, I think it was £250 to the Football League to sign the Football League contract. And they couldn't afford to do it at the time. And Jim didn't know anything about it. And I felt really sorry. And the secretary at the club at the time, John Howarth, he got an absolute rollicking of Jim Smith because I hadn't signed these forms. So I signed the form straight away when the season finished, and then Jim left. So I can't remember who come in after Jim. I think it was Bobby Saxton. I can't remember. But Bobby Saxton was really good for me. He's in my top three managers I played for. And if you take away the big names, I would put Bobby Saxton at the top because of the problems we had at Blackburn Rovers money wise. I mean, we used to train at a place called where was Pleasanton Playing Fields, I think it was called. But it was just Sunday League football pitches, and there was a river running through it. And even if a ball got kicked into the river, Bobby would sometimes jump into the river to get the ball back because we didn't have that many balls to train with. It was a really tough time at the football club, money wise, and the way he got us playing, the camaraderie between the team spirit was unbelievable. We all believed in each other, and it was he helped me a lot. Bobby did.
What point did you think? I don't suppose footballers ever think they've totally cracked it, but when did you actually thought, yeah, that my career is on an upward trajectory here, things are going well? When did you kind of feel the love of the Ewood fans, for example?
I always got on well with the Ewood fans. I mean, I was a young kid in the side, and I was scoring goals, and they got behind me. They took me to their hearts straight away, if you know what I mean, and they liked what I saw. I always, okay, I wasn't the fittest footballer in the world, but I gave it all for 90 minutes. And I appreciate what they had to do. I mean, they're working 5, 6 days a week. And football, not talking about today, even in them days, for people like that in Blackburn, it was a lot of money to take your kids to a football game. It's not just turning up and buying a ticket. You've got to buy a programme of burgers. And I came from a working class background, so I fully understood that. And I was quite happy scoring goals, celebrating with them. And then after the game, I'd have a drink with them and get on well with them. Like I keep saying, forget about today's game because you can't do that anymore as players. You can't mix with your fans and things like that. Social media, stuff like that, mobile phones. You say the wrong thing, you're being recorded all the time. I couldn't have lasted in today's game. Whereas in them days, I could finish a game, go to a pub, have a pint with the fans, have a cigarette with the fans and stuff like that, and get on really well. And I appreciated that they're working hard all week, and for 90 minutes on a Saturday afternoon, they're getting that's their freedom time. They're away from home. They're going out to enjoy themselves for 90 minutes. So you've got to try and do the best you can for them. And that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, and the question I always ask footballers, Simon, is at the end of the career, when you look back, do you think you fulfilled your potential? Was there more you could have achieved? And you said about the modern day game. Do you think you would have achieved more had you been playing now, or less, or similar?
Less, I would think.
Really?
I do. Like I was saying before, I wasn't the fittest footballer in the world. I wasn't the best trainer. I put everything into training, but I wasn't the best. I was one of the slowest. You do a run more than, let's say, 50 yards, and I was struggling, stuff like that. And but the pressure on them nowadays, I think I would have struggled to have made it. I mean, in my day, smaller squads, a place like Blackburn, smaller squads, less budget to spend on players.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was lucky that I was good enough to score goals and get in the first team.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to ask a question I think I know the answer to, but the Burnley Rovers relationship, Simon, you loved being the villain, didn't you?
I loved it. Yes, I did. I mean, for some reason, I always used to score against Burnley, and they didn't like it. And in them days, you could celebrate in front of the away fans. Nowadays, you wouldn't get away with it. You get done for it somehow. The FA would pull you up about something. But yes, let's say I wasn't one of Burnley's favourites.
No. But you
That's a
loved it.
polite way of putting it.
Yeah. Can you remember, and can't believe I'm asking this, but are there any particular Blackburn Burnley games that stick out for you where you
Yeah, it's funny enough. I was talking about this when I went to this pub on Sunday after the game. They was asking questions about playing against Burnley and stuff like that. I remember one when we played at Ewood Park. Obviously, the Burnley fans was in the Darwin end, which used to have a brick wall at the back of it, and we got a penalty. And they started throwing bricks onto the pitch, taking the wall down, breaking it down. And the ref took us off. We came back on, and I took the penalty and missed it. But the ref said, "Right, take it again." The keeper had moved. I mean, when I missed it, the Burnley fans went mad. They was loving it. They had to retake it and scored. And I just stood there in front of them. That was one good memory. Another frightening memory was playing at Burnley, and I'd scored there for Blackburn again. And came out after the game out of players' entrance, and was this Burnley fan stood there, and he was a big fella, and he was stood there with a carving knife. And he says, "Where's that Simon Garner? I'm going to stab him." I don't know if he's joking or not. And I just said, "Oh, he'll be out in 5 minutes," and just ran off. They're the two biggest memories I have about it.
That's a great story. That's it'll be out in
He didn't
5 minutes.
recognise me. I'm glad he didn't recognise me as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was a young kid then, and I mean, I can't say I really enjoy the games because it's quite tribal, isn't it? Particularly because there's been such a long break between the
That was
two
it. Yeah,
sides
yeah,
playing.
yeah. It was. Yeah, and it was. I used to enjoy them games. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
As a footballer, because I've been at Blackburn all my career as well, playing against them. It used to lift me up. It wasn't just Burnley, wherever we played away. If the fans didn't like you and they got on your back, it used to make me try harder. And just to prove a point to them that I'm not listening to you, I'm getting on with my own stuff. I'll block you out. and I'm going to try and score just to upset you even more.
Yeah. Now you've had your fun. I've got to ask you this question now. So when Burnley came into Ewood last year, Simon, and won the championship there, how did that feel?
Well, luckily I wasn't at the game. I wasn't at the game. Like I said, I live down south now.
Surprised you didn't hear the Burnley fans.
I know. I am surprised about that one. But obviously, you've got to say congratulations to them. They did well. They had a great season. But at the back of your mind, you're thinking, I wish they didn't do it.
Oh, you said that through gritted teeth,
I
Simon.
did as well.
Oh, lovely. So, something else I wanted to ask you, Simon, was when you were with Blackburn, weren't you, until they got promoted to the Premier League? That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was it like to then say, well, thanks, but thanks for all you've done, you know,
Um,
see you later. Was that a
it
difficult time?
wasn't. I had 12 months left on my contract. It was a tough decision because I've been there all my career. I went to see the manager, Kenny Dalglish, sat down with him in his office. It was just before the start of the season. I sat down with him in his office and I said, look, I've got 12 months left on my contract. I just said to him, am I going to get a game? He went, hang on a minute, Simon. In this Scottish accent, you can't understand. I said, yeah. He said, can you just move out of the way, lean across like that? So I leaned across. I thought, what's going on here? And there was a telly on behind me and there was a golf tournament on. And he'd just come back from a holiday and he'd missed this golf tournament and he wanted to see who won it and who got the winning putt. So the putt went in and somebody won it. He said, right, I'm listening to you now. So I said to him, I said, look, 12 months left on my contract. You've signed this fella called Alan Shearer. I'm sure you're going to play. He also had 2 or 3 other strikers there. He signed Mike Newell, Roy Wegley. So I was about 4th in line to get a game. And I was 31, 32 at the time, I think I was, coming up 32. And I was still wanting to play football. I wanted to play regular football. I didn't want to play in the reserves anymore. I just wanted first team football. And I knew that Ossie Ardiles wanted to sign me at West Brom. So I said to Kenny, I was honest with him. I said, I'm not going to get a game, am I? He went, no. He said, I'll keep you in the squad, but you're not going to get a game. He was honest with me. And we had a good long chat. And it was an amicable chat, don't get me wrong. I mean, I used to worship Kenny Dalglish when I was younger. When he used to turn up for training, I used to sometimes, when he joined in five-a-side, I used to stand and watch him instead of running around. And but we had a right good chat and really friendly chat. Stood up, shook hands. He said, "Good luck with whatever you do," and that was basically the conversation.
Yeah. And then you move on to Aussie, another
I
guy
moved.
difficult to understand. But what was Aussie like?
Oh, it was brilliant because he'd been on loan at Blackburn as well. And he got
Yeah.
injured early doors, but he'd come to Blackburn. I got on really well with Aussie, basically, because he smoked as well. So it was great fun. We'd be on the team bus having a fag, me and him, playing cards. Aussie was great. I got on really well with him. Went down to West Brom. The first game, we had a friendly. And funny enough, it was against Blackburn. The first game was a friendly. Shearer was making his debut, and I was making my debut for West Brom. And before the game, Birkinshaw, his assistant, all the other lads had gone out to warm up. Well, I was superstitious in a way. I didn't like kicking the ball before the game started. So I never used to go out for a warm up. In them days, you didn't have to go out for a warm up. Not like nowadays. You see them all on the pitch for about half an hour warming up. And Birkinshaw said, "Come on, you lazy so and so. You should be out there warming up." And Ozzy turned around and said to him, "Keith, don't worry about that. He's going to score me 20 goals this season. He doesn't need to warm up." So I used to love Ozzy.
I'm sure, yeah. Yeah. And then when you're at West Brom, Simon, and you see Rovers going from strength to strength and then winning the Premier League, what's your emotions? Is it just delight and joy for them, or is there a sense of might have been part of that? What was it?
No, it's delight and joy. once I'd left, I didn't sever ties with them. I concentrated on West Brom. That's what I did. I moved on. Thought, well, in a way, when you change clubs, you've got to prove yourself again.
Mm.
You've got to prove yourself. Excuse me. You've got to prove yourself to, first of all, to your teammates and then to the fans. So that's what I concentrated on. Obviously, I looked at the results every week to see how they was doing. And I was really, really pleased when they won the Premiership. So, but it didn't feel like I missed out on anything.
No. And then, you as you're getting older, you end up at Wycombe, don't you? And what I wanted to ask you, Simon, was you won promotion with Wycombe against Preston North End, didn't you, of all
Yeah,
teams?
we did in the playoffs at Wembley, yeah.
Was that a really special moment in your career? You're at the back end of your career and you go and see that and experience that. How important and how precious was that to you at the time?
Very precious. I mean, as soon as Aussie left West Brom, Keith Birkinshaw decided he didn't want me in the team or in the squad. Martin O'Neill at the time was the manager at Wycombe, wanted to sign me. I agreed with him straight away. I'd sign for them. He was a great manager, and I was playing with lads who had just been promoted from non-league football the season before. So they'd gone from part-time players to full-time players. I mean, never forget, we had the centre-back, Glyn Creaser, was 35. He'd worked at John Lewis since he'd left school, played part-time football. But for one season, he resigned from his job and became, I can't say it, professional footballer. And it was the same with all the other lads. That's all they wanted to do. And they're getting the chance at 28, 29, 35 to become a professional footballer. So their attitude was unbelievable.
Mm.
And Martin knew how to handle them. He was brilliant with them. With the players, he knew what he had. He knew to give 100% every game because they're really looking forward to this. And it was a great atmosphere and a great place to be at.
Yeah, I think some people probably might even forget that Martin O'Neill was at Wycombe Wanderers. I didn't even realise that. That's like, yeah. And
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
yeah.
He completely sold the club to me. He had big ambitions for the club and he got them. And like I was saying about managers, he's in my top 3 as well.
Yeah. And then the career stops. Eventually you wind down, you play non-league, don't you? What was life like on the other side of the football pitch, Simon? Did you some players struggle, don't they, with not being in the game anymore? What was it
Yeah,
like
I
for
mean,
you?
I was playing part-time. Obviously you've got to get a job as well. It didn't bother me. I had to get a job. I think, what was it? I was a postman to start with, I think I was, which was early mornings as well, which I didn't like. That was 5:30 in the morning. But no, I was one of them. Like I said before, I came from a working class background. I didn't make enough money. The money wasn't in the game in football in them days to retire on it. So I realised I'd have to get a job. I played part-time as long as I could. I think I lasted till it was about 36. And I was playing for a team who was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 leagues below getting into the Football League. And it was only 2 miles away from my house. Went and played with them. Lads who hadn't made it at football, but they tried as hard as they could. And after I was 8, I've been to other non-league clubs, but at this one, I was there for 18 months and it was just the end of the season. And it got to the stage where if you played a midweek game, you've got to get up and go to work the day after. It was tough. Well, at my age, it was tough. My legs still wanted to do well. My body said stop. My head still wanting to do it. I never wanted to stop playing football. I could see myself playing till I was 40, 45, but the rest of my body said stop. You've got to get up in the morning. And that was a sad day for me, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Simon, I don't want to get too deep, but this is the Godcast. I just wonder a couple of questions around. Do you think that your talent was a gift? Do you think it was it was there always, and is it something you kind of embraced, or and the other question, double question, Simon, is sometimes I can be on for me Turf Moor, for Rovers fans he would, but there can be something where there'd be a moment where it actually feels like incredibly spiritual. You know, it's like I'm sure you must have felt that when you scored a big goal against Burnley.
Well,
Or
you
whatever.
do, yeah, but you do. I mean, it's really hard to describe emotions when you score a goal. It's really, really tough. I mean, sometimes if you're scoring regularly, you think, well, that's another goal. Other times you go through a spell where you're not scoring goals and you get one and you celebrate it more. Um, I think is it a gift? I don't know. I just had a natural talent and I was in the right place at the right time, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And now you've got this book. Has this been a good? I mean, I also have a book. I'm going to plug it, Simon. I have a book, Our Daily Bread, that's out with Harper North. Has it been a good experience, Simon? Has it been cathartic? Have you enjoyed the
It's
process?
been a great experience. What happened was I got approached 20 years ago to write a book, my autobiography. So I did it 20 years ago. And then all of a sudden, the chap who wrote it got back in touch with me after 20 years. He said, "Shall we do an update?" I said, "What?" He said, "Shall we do an update of your book and add things to the chapters and things like that?" And I said, "Well, if you think it's going to sell books, let's do it." So we did it. It took 2 years to write it. It was Richard Slater and Dan who wrote it. Well, Dan wrote most of it. Dan Clough. Richard who wrote the first one. And he said, "Right, let's give it a go." I said, "Okay." And I got a lot of extra people, ex-managers, ex-teammates who added things to the book. I mean, some of the players I didn't think would even speak to me, or managers, but they all put in a good word for me. So we got it done. Came out just before Christmas, and it went really well. And I'm pleased I did it again. I mean, you remember things that you didn't remember in the first time when I did it 20 years ago. So I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. And I was seeing those pictures with you with the Rovers fans. You know, must be great when Dad rocks up with kid and child and go, "This is Simon Garner.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
legend." That must be quite good for the ego, I guess.
It is in a way, yeah. I mean, I used to do a bit of commentary for Radio Lancashire, BBC Radio Lancashire, and I think it was the last one I did was away at Watford. And I was stood outside the ground before the game trying to find where the ticket office was. And the away supporters, the Blackburn fans, they're still coming up to me and saying, "How are you, Simon?" It's like they know me personally, as if I'd know their name as well. I mean, I can't remember next door neighbour's name, let alone somebody I met 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, in your job, inverted commas, you must find it. Do you remember names all the
Yeah,
time?
I know. It's quite difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about we get you a book signing at Turf Moor?
Oh, I don't think that go down too well. I don't think. I think I might need a police escort for that one.
Well, whatever people think, whatever stick I might get off my mates and my fellow Burnley, there's the one thing that nobody can dispute is you are a legend of Lancashire football. You are a legend at Ewood for being their record goal scorer, and you're a legend at Burnley for being the pantomime villain. And
Yeah.
I have to say, Simon, I've absolutely loved chatting to you.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure.
And I wish you well with the book. And thanks so much for coming on the Godcast. Thank you.
No, it's been a pleasure. And likewise, your book. I hope it goes well.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.